Welcome, Xceinie. We just had some crazy matches. And yeah, so we're going to, while it's fresh in our mind, we're going to make a tier list of how we feel about each unit.
Yes, great. I'm ready to share some opinions from these matches.
Basically, the biggest takeaway here is the gnome. You just had like this crazy breakthrough strategy with the gnome, and I'm dubbing it. I want to dub it the gnome onslaught because you're just raining down gnomes, and it's like basically like it broke through the UFO threat. The only way I was able to defend it was by doing like this bumbler garlic launcher strat. Anyway, there's a lot of crazy things that changed. So we were debating whether we wanted descriptions for each of these. We're just going to go with our gut feeling. For me, like we'll describe it as we go along. But you said you wanted to go through order from left to right here.
Yeah, let's do that because the gnome being the last one, it's the most climactic one.
Yes. um, for how do you feel about the fly? I already have my feelings about the fly.
I say D tier.
And me too. I think it's D tier. I know Juice uses it a lot. I think it can be usable in certain situations, but I just feel like it's just I don't know. I feel like the only reason why you'd want to pick it is if you're really worried about ants rushing you. But even then, I feel like there's better things you should be doing. Because
It's
picking,
usable, but
yeah,
I think it's easily countered.
yes, yeah. I feel like it doesn't really do that much in the late game. It's just, yeah, I feel like it's D tier. Okay, how do you feel about the ant?
My gut says A tier. I'm almost thinking about putting it in S tier, actually.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of tricky because like, well, actually, I actually think I might
It's
go
like
in S
S.
tier. I would say S,
I think
yeah, because I actually think that the anthill went down. The anthill went down in my opinion.
And so the reason I say S is because it's so versatile
Mm-hmm.
and it can defend against the garlic, you know. It is
Yes.
used in conjunction with that strategy I use with the gnomes and roar beetles. Like I
Yes.
always pick just the ant now, and now I always want the ant. So I think it's gone up for me. It used to be an A, and now it's an S.
So I also think it's important for the splares. The splares early game are just like a menace. You need to hand if you can't if you don't have the ant, I feel like you're gonna get screwed by splares in the early game.
Yeah, I think that I would put Splayer actually in A tier personally, but that's just
Okay.
for my personal vibe because I could see a lot of people liking them a lot, but I feel like I can counter them with ants pretty well, and then ants
Mm-hmm.
are cheaper. Ants can counter the cannons, you know, like I had a match where I think I like one it was one of our matches where I was running through and I got behind some of your cannons and an ant took out like 10 cannons or something like
Oh yeah,
that.
ants are crazy if you can get
Yeah.
the good micro
And
going.
Slayers can do that too, but not as fast as the ants. You know,
Yes.
ants run fast, Slayers just kind of move slowly.
I feel like for the Splayer, I'm kind of conflicted. I feel like let's skip ahead to the portal because I feel like 99% of the time, at least for me, I'm going to pick either the Splayer or the portal, which kind of makes me want to put them in S. But I also understand putting them in A because they're kind of interchangeable. Um, how do you feel about
Yeah,
the portal?
it's either the top of B tier or an A tier for me because I would
Okay.
usually pick the Slayer over the Portal, but I use them interchangeably. But the only reason is because I don't put it higher and I might put it lower in high Bs because of how expensive it is, and so it's a very front loady kind of unit.
Can you live with this?
I don't necessarily agree. Like I can live with it. I would personally put the Splayer in A, but I can see people putting an S. So yeah, I could live with it.
Yeah, because like for me, like I think I would put the Splayer above the portal. But to me, I feel like the Splayer unit itself is S. But like you don't have to pick the Splayer if you pick the portal. The portal is definitely a viable option. Mostly because I feel like what makes the Splayer so important is controlling the real estate at the beginning. Because if someone builds like a big wall, a bunch of cannons, you can let's place one Splayer down, and if your opponent doesn't attack it with the ant, you can just take out that entire group of cannons. It does it very slowly, but it's a much more consistent way of taking them out than the ant.
The
I
reason I put the ant in S tier for sure, and I'm tentative to put the Splayer in, is because the ant is so much more effective, in my opinion, with that gnome strategy. The Splayer
oh
I would
yeah,
not use as my main unit, and the ant's also garlic proof. It gives that another advantage over the
that's
Splayer. The
true.
ant's faster. The ant it takes down the toast faster. There's just so many different things the ant does, even though the Splayer is just bulky and really good in general.
My defense for the splayer would be when I'm going against that gnome strategy. I feel like the splares helped me when I was doing my bumbler garlic cannon strategy because it gave me something bulky. Also, I was also doing a hive garlic cannon strategy versus the mass UFOs, and it was giving me something bulky to like push through. Um, Also,
Yeah, that's
it's
super fair.
yeah,
That's definitely
I
fair.
feel like bottom of S. I'm okay with. I think the ant goes above personally, but I think like I just feel like these two might be the only S for me. Maybe you can convince me later, but these might be the only S for me. Moving on to the other spawner, I think the hive is the best spawner in the game.
I think.
Maybe the Splair portal's better than it, but I feel like I don't know. I'm not. I don't think it's S tier, but I think it's top of A tier in my opinion.
It's either top of B tier or bottom of A tier.
Ooh.
I think that the portal's better.
Okay, I'm okay. I think this is. Well, let's do a balance out of this. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on the hive then?
The hive can be countered pretty easily if you if you have a portal out, one portal, and there are a lot of hives on the other side. It'll take a lot of flies to kind of burst through that. So I feel like the amount of hives you need to overtake like a portal group would be very difficult to manage. But the reason I want to put them in A is because the hive can definitely overtake cannons. It's quick, it's cheap. So I feel like there are a lot of advantages going for it. But if you get a group of portals going, the group of hives is just like kind of
Oh, I
out
mean,
of
the
it.
portals definitely beat the hives for sure. The reason
And
why I think the hive is better is I think the hive is more versatile, and I feel like sometimes you get screwed with the portals because they're so expensive, and like they do absolutely nothing to help you with the gnome onslaught. I feel like you're a sitting duck if they're using
that's
the,
fair.
and well, the hives like some of the flies that can whittle down the UFOs. They can provide chip damage. They make it harder for your opponent to come closer to you. It makes it harder to abuse ants, which we put up this high. You can put them in certain stages. They can be in weird angles, and you can take advantage of that. I do think, like, obviously, if you have like mass portals versus mass hives, like the portals is going to win. But I personally think it's more versatile. But unless if that changed your mind, I'm okay with this. But I personally would go here, but I'll let you make the final decision.
Yeah, that works. I think that either way, I think they're pretty close now that you after that description. I would go with top of A, I suppose. I just
Yeah.
don't think hives are really. I wouldn't list them in my head. They're not like close to S. They're like a solid A tier because I almost never pick them. Well, not almost never, but like I pick them a lot less frequently than probably five or six other units. So in my head, they're like top of B, bottom of
Oh,
A. But I can.
maybe you're right. Maybe they're not top of A, but I could see like maybe the gnome or the UFO or the garlic, maybe the garlic being above them. But I don't know. At the same time, though, like they're just so I don't know. They're just it's weird. Like they're definitely an A tier. They're definitely not an S tier unit. That's definitely the case. They're definitely not that level where like I always want them no matter what. But because really you only have to sacrifice one piggy bank to make one of these, while the portal you have to give up three piggy banks. And
Well, the thing
sometimes
is,
it
if
takes a long time to get your return in the investment with the portal.
Yeah, you have to be very mindful of the portals. If you let a splayer out and it just gets through a couple cannons and comes to your jar, it's a lot harder to like counter that portal once it gets going. I feel like it is a little easier to counter just a group of flies once they get going. That's the other
That's a
thing
good
for the
point.
portal,
Yeah, you're
is
right.
that yeah,
Yeah,
but I'll say that they're
you're
even.
maybe you're right. This is just a quick tier list. This is not. This is just us discussing. By the way, the tier list, like the actual ranking of them, I wouldn't say is like incredibly meaningful, but more of the discussion that we're having around each unit. And tier lists are always changing anyway. So,
Oh yeah,
but okay, how about the anthill?
I put B.
Yeah, I agree. I think B. I used to have it in A, but after this, I feel like B is a little bit more because I feel like I feel like not having the cuckoo squid in the main menu, which the cuckoo squid might be in the main menu, by the way, but we were just this is assuming the sardines is in the main menu. This is kind of funny. Maybe we could do more matches, but with each side menu, each main menu option, we can see how the tier list changes Xceinie. That'd be kind of interesting.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I just feel like it's just without you can't really abuse the force field on it anymore, and I don't know. It's so bad in the early game.
Yeah, because we were talking, I think I was talking to you about how if you just put like a couple cannons down, it'll just snipe all the ants it outputs.
Yeah, I
Unless you put a
know.
bunch of them down.
I guess it could help you like counter their splares in the coming, like if they're trying to take control of the real estate. But I don't know if you get a good enough defense, it's hard for me to break through.
Well,
And
if you put it down to counter the splares, then you don't have to worry about every couple seconds releasing another couple ants. You know, that
yeah,
was something I struggled with in the Giants Globe, I believe.
yes. The thing is though, it probably depends on the stage. I just feel like they're limited, so definitely like a B tier. I feel good about B.
Yeah.
Speaking of bees, what do you think of the bumbler?
Also B.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I could go with B. I'd say top of B. I'd put it above the bumbler, the anthill personally. I don't know about you.
I think it would be above the anthill, yes.
Yeah, I could see a world where they're A. But I don't know. Maybe they could be bottom of A, but I think for now I'm okay with B.
I think that, yeah, because we put him in A is just going to have like 10
Everything.
units in it, you know? It's like nothing's going to be in C. There are going to be a couple units in B, and then everything's going to be in S and A pretty much. So that's me thinking of like, well, the Bumblers are really good,
The
but I
thing,
think that those two spawners are better for sure.
the reason why I'm tempted to put an A is because I feel like it's essential for the anti-gnome onslaught strategy.
That's true, but then that's, it's a one strategy, but
Yeah.
that is true. That does give them a bit of a,
And they're pretty
yeah.
nice for like early rushes. Like if you're in like the rush stages, the bumblers are like the premier late game unit. If you're like King's Kitchen, for example, I feel like they're really good in King's Kitchen. Granted, that's only one stage. Like I definitely think they lose value in stages like Ulrich's Domain or Giant's Globe. They're okay-ish, but I definitely think they lose value in stages like that. So maybe B's fine. I think B's okay.
Yeah, E for the B.
In King's Kitchen, though, I think I might put them in S. I actually think they're that good in King's Kitchen. Maybe A, but yeah. Okay, the Roar Beetle. So we're going through this fast.
I think Romeo's B at the bottom. If anything, bottom of B or mid B, but that's just because I think I used them really well. They paired so well with the gnomes that, like, if I didn't have the Roar Beetle, maybe the gnome would have still,
So you said
would have
B?
won. But I'd say B, yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
B for the Beetle.
I'm not. This is interesting. I feel like the Roar Beetle has to be above the gnome
Interesting. I was gonna put the gnome above the Roar Beetle
because I feel like the gnome needs the beetle.
because if you have spawners down, or if a bunch of ants
I
or
guess you
whatever,
could do that.
you could have other meat shields. You could have UFOs.
Uh,
I feel like it doesn't need it, but it helps a lot. So I actually, yes, it's a boomproof. Also,
it's
well,
also
yeah,
good against the gnome strategy too. I actually think it might be bottom of A.
yeah. If you want to put them bottom of A, that
I
works.
I don't know because it depends where we're putting the gnome. Should we just rank the gnome? Where do we think the gnome goes? Let's just
Well,
rank the gnome. I feel that's
that'd
gonna
be-
yeah. Let's just rank the gnome. Where are we putting the gnome?
okay. I would put the gnome in A just because of how easy it was to implement that strategy, and I could pair it
Yeah,
with
I
other units.
think A is pretty fair, honestly. Um, okay, I
Ruin
think
the
I have a feeling we're
climax.
gonna move these down. By the way, I have a feeling we're gonna move these down, but we can adjust as we go along. But I think
Sure.
what I would like propose is do this
Okay.
because I feel like you need. I feel like the roar beetle you don't have to use the gnome, but I feel like with that gnome strat in mind, if you're trying to specifically do that strategy, which I think is the reason why the gnome is so good, I do feel like you need the roar beetle because you need something to tank the damage and you need something to push through.
Think about this. Without the gnome, the roar beetle wouldn't probably do too much,
Oh, that's a
and
good point.
without the roar beetle, the gnome still has a potential to do a lot. So the gnome was the thing that broke through. It wasn't the roar beetle is just a support unit, you know.
That's a good point. Like the gnome is like the star of the show. Oh, that's tricky. It's kind of like this is like a nice philosophical debate on like what unit is more important in a strategy. I mean, I guess this would get the most gain the most attention, right? If we did this,
Sure.
I don't know. Oh, this is hard. Like, yeah, 'cause I feel like you're right. Like, would you ever use the roar beetle if you're not going to do the gnome?
Yeah, I would.
You would or wouldn't?
Still would, because you can use it with the garlic cannon too.
Oh,
And I can use it with salt cannons. So before using with the gnome, I was using the roar beetle with the garlic cannon and salt cannons, or more salt
yeah.
cannons to. So that's why it's not useless, but I feel like the gnome is the premier unit.
I think these guys need to go together in the same tier. I think they need to go together. You can probably put them
Okay.
in either order. We'll do this to gauge, just to make everyone mad who hates the gnome. Yeah, yeah. Okay, this will be interesting. Where do you think the UFO goes? So the UFO, I used to think. So in my previous tier list, the only S tier units I had was the cupcake and the UFO. I do not think it's S tier anymore.
Yeah, I think top of A got knocked down with the nerf a little bit, and
Yeah, the question is, do you put it below or after? I almost wonder if it's a B tier unit. Probably it's probably an A tier. I wouldn't go that crazy. I'd say
I
it's.
still feel like it's top of A.
You think top of A?
I actually think it's better than Splayer. That's why I was gonna put Splayer below. Like I was gonna keep Splayer and A and UFO at top of A, but I still think it's still good enough to win a lot of matches. But you know, it's not the best. Like if you
Yeah.
in order to beat it, you need to pair other units against it, like the gnome and the roar beetle.
Yes.
So it's by itself, it's it's great. Like, and you can get it in the early game if you manage your money well enough, and then that would take out, you know, splayers and bumblers and anything. So I think I still say top of A,
I
despite the
agree. I
nerf.
think I can get behind that. I also think if you're a newer player, I would recommend the mass UFO strategy. I think that'd be my if you're on it. I feel like you could win a lot of matches if you just went mass UFOs. I it doesn't require as much micro from your captain to pull
Oh
off
yeah,
well enough. But
is dead.
what's that?
Mass UFOs is deadly.
Oh, it is. It's like I actually do think if you can get enough UFOs on the screen, it might be too much for the gnome onslaught if they're coming from every direction. But yeah, it's crazy. Okay, let's go to the honey cannon. Where do you put the honey cannon?
Between A and B, I
Yeah,
still think the honey cannon does a really good job, but I don't think it's needed.
yeah,
So
I feel like a B. I would personally put it. I definitely would put it above the anthill, but I would put it. I personally put it below the bumbler because I just think the bumbler is so good against the roar beetle. I think it's your best answer against the roar beetle. I guess the UFO is too, but the bumbler can be a quicker pick.
sure, I could go with that.
Yeah. How about the salt cannon?
Soul Cannon is B
Yeah,
also.
it's like really good. I think definitely above the anthill. I almost wondering want to put the Antlion C.
We'll think about it. Yeah, I might knock it down to C. I think the salt cannon is actually better than the honey cannon.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's really good in King's Kitchen, and it's also usable in other stages too.
It's really good at holding the real estate too.
Yeah, it's so good. Like it's so annoying to get through. And you can the salt saber, the lightsaber strat is really good. It's just it can help ward off the bumblers, like you're saying. Even though like the bumblers are like the bumblers, it's kind of funny. I feel like bumblers are the best answer to salt cannon, but salt cannons can still be an answer to bumblers, if that makes any
Oh
sense.
yeah. No, I use them against Bumbler. I think they're the best. I think they're better than Slayers against
That's
them.
interesting because like whenever you use salt cannons, I use the bumbler.
Think that if I can get a bunch of salt cannons within a Bumbler horde, it will take them out more effectively than trying to get
Oh,
Slayers out because
I
the Slayers will get taken out.
yeah, you might be right because it only takes 2 hits from a salt cannon. But the funny thing is, when you do that, I put down more bumblers outside the range of that other assault cannon. So we kind of have like this dance going,
Yep.
and there's an interesting dichotomy there. I feel pretty. Would you put them? You probably would put them above.
I would put him above Bumblers, but I could see the argument made for Bumblers above them.
I'm gonna put them above mostly because I feel like I like if in a world without the bumblers are just really scary if they get really large numbers and you don't have like an AoE attack to handle them. You know. Um,
Yeah.
okay. This is an interesting one. Where are we going to put the garlic launcher?
I almost feel like it has to be an A because it's so
I think it
good.
has to be. Which I'm actually okay if we bring down. I don't know.
This is why I had some of the other units down a little
Okay,
bit
I'm
because I
doing
knew we
this.
weren't
I'm
going to
doing
put much
this.
in.
Oh, maybe not.
Oh,
I kind of want to do this because I feel like these are like, interchangeable, and I feel like the splayer is that good, but I don't know. I, without worrying about that, like where do you rank it compared to these?
maybe just above the gnome.
Yeah, because it's
Hard
been
to say.
proven that you can use the garlic to defeat the UFO. So we just kind of proved that.
Between the gnome and the roar beetle.
What's that?
I think maybe between the gnome and the roar beetle because you can still use the gnomes. I feel like are more effective at winning games than the garlic cannons are. So
Yes,
maybe
it's. I think the garlic is way harder to pull off. Um, it requires you to run around like a madman, putting them in the correct spots, and you need like lots of spawners. You need a lot. It requires so much prep. You need like a lot of piggy banks, and you need spawners, and you need a lot of things. Well, like with this one, you kind of just describe what you need to win at the gnome onslaught because I wasn't able to pull it off, but you were. Like, what do you need for the gnome onslaught?
you need a lot of mix, and then you need ants too on
And what do
top
the
of the
ants do
gnome.
for that?
The ants help with any garlic countering. The ants
Oh
also
yeah,
are distraction. They distract so the roar beetles don't get killed right away. They also eat through the toast, so
that
roar beetle
yeah
can get through the toast a little better. That the gnome if the gnome can't get there. And yeah, I'd say that ants just so versatile that that versatility on top of the pairing of the gnome and the roar beetle makes it
yeah.
almost needed.
I think the gnome is better at pushing forward than the garlic is, but the garlic is much better defensively.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree with that.
Um, yeah, cool. Um, it'll be interesting to end on the cupcake. Where do we put the sardines?
B.
B. Yeah, dang, like I feel like they're interchangeable with the honey cannon.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think the
I'd
honey
say they're
cannon's
above the
probably
honey
better
cannon.
though. What's that? Oh, you say above the hat?
I think they're better because they're so bulky that they're hard to get past. If you know they're hard. The can is hard to kill.
That's true. And they do kind of provide pressure on your opponent. The thing is, like, you might be right actually, because like I do think the honey cannon's good against the UFO's late game strat, but like now the UFO isn't the only late game strat, so this might be better. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Um, this is an interesting list. I love how there's this big gap.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is why I had the Splayer lower because I would have trickled a couple more units down if the Splayer were
yeah.
lower, but
So how do we feel about the cupcake?
I put that in C tier.
Ooh. Oh, why C tier?
'Cause I just don't use it that much. I recognize that it has a value. It's not that difficult to use, but I think that the gnome strat doesn't need it.
Oh, it
You
doesn't. The
could
gnome strat doesn't like. You should not pick the cupcake for the gnome strat.
you can use it with the UFO, but so I guess yeah, it's the most needed with the UFO, which is why it's not like D tier, I guess. It's
I
important with
think it's.
UFO,
I
but
personally think it's needed for the garlic launcher strat.
that's true because I don't use the garlic enough. So maybe up and B just
I,
for that
I
since
would
two
personally
strategy.
put it in A. Maybe like. I feel like it would go in the same level as like the roar beetle.
Okay,
Maybe like
that's fine. Yeah.
this.
This is my personal take on it. So you know that I'm not going to use cupcake much.
I just feel like maybe it's more like. Yeah, I think this is good. Honestly, now I think about it, we should do this. Yeah. How about this? Are you okay with putting the anthill in C? I feel like the anthill is just a tier below these guys.
Uh, I feel like the anthill would be close enough to the honey
Really?
cannon, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think C is okay.
Okay. Are we just gonna? Are we literally gonna post this just to make Juice mad?
Just to make Juice mad, yeah, and to praise Mr. Kirby a little more.
Yeah, because like, I feel like this is really mean to the fly. I feel like it'd probably be more like this. I
This
don't.
is yeah,
This is probably more fair.
this is yeah. So this is why I would have put the Slayer a little bit lower because yeah, it's just nothing is in that bottom
Maybe we
tier,
should. Yeah,
and
maybe we do this. Maybe we do. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we do. I feel like the hives is actually really important with the garlic. I think
one thing.
I feel pretty. Personally, I would go with this. I would like to go with this, but I
Let's
like
do it. Let's
you like
lock it
this.
in.
I think it should go
Um,
here. That's just my gut. I could see a world where. Yeah, because I really don't think anything else belongs in A. I think you can make an argument for this being an A, but at the same time, though, like, well, actually, no, this has to go in A, right?
I'd say that's close enough to the Splayer, yes, but if the Splayer were an A, I could see the Portal being in B. So I don't think it has to go in A, but let's put it in the A if we're leaving the
I feel
Splayer
like
in
A because the Splayer is just so good. Like, I feel like there's a case where I feel like you tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like you should never not pick the Splayer or the Portal. You should always pick one or the other, like 99% of the time.
I think I don't think always. I think it may be. I'd say
I
eight
mean,
out of ten
let's say if
times.
you're picking the units first, you don't know what your opponent's going to pick. I feel like 100% I'm always going to pick one or the other
Yeah, I would probably. So I
because
think
they're
it's
really
something
good
that
in the early game, and it's just I feel like you're just gonna what's gonna end up happening is they're gonna spam
no,
cannons all over the map, and then you're not gonna be able to break through, and then it's just I feel like you could win without them, but I feel like you're gonna be at such a huge disadvantage.
agree if you pick like an ant and fly like hive. Like I think that you can counter a Splayer because you can always just use the ants to counter the Splayers relatively easily.
Oh yeah, I think the ant for sure you always want to pick if you're going first because if your opponent does pick the splayer, then you're going to be a sitting duck. Like there's like
So I'd
hardly
say
yeah.
either ant Splayer, ant hive, or ant portal. That's what I would go with. So I don't necessarily need the Splayer. Well, I'd say 7 out of 10 times for the Splayer, I
Okay.
guess.
The point is though, like, is there any other unit that like, and this is for like all people, like, is there ever a reason what like is there any unit that you think you'd recommend more than that besides the ant?
No.
Yeah, I feel like that this is why the portal has to be in A tier at least because I do think
I
the
think that
portals the splares better, but the portal I feel like because it gives you splares, I feel like that just inherently makes it really good.
I think the only two units I would recommend beyond the ant for sure would be Hive and Honey Cannon for if they're like newcomers or people who are just getting used to the game because those are good at
Okay.
annoying people. If you put a bunch of honey cannons like out in front of somebody and they don't have, strategies down, the honey cannons can certainly help you out there.
Um
Maybe Cupcake too, but I'm liking the Cupcake a little like less and less just because I can put so many spawners down that would make the Cupcake useless for spawners.
yeah.
But it is useful for the UFO. It's useful for cannons, assault cannons. Yeah,
Do
so
we want to put the beetle in B tier? No, I think it has to be in conjunction with the
I
thing
can put
though.
it in B. But
Yeah, maybe it belongs in B. I think top of B.
that's what I think I originally said B for beetle for war beetle.
Yeah, I
B
think
for
this
beetle.
is fair because, like, okay, so S tier, these are like your bread and butter. This is like what keeps you alive. It's just very helpful. These are like the I'm gonna maybe the hive doesn't belong in here, but maybe it's more like this. I like this more. I think. Yeah,
Sure.
these are like the really scary picks. The hive is probably the least scary, but I feel like the hive is just so versatile. And then these ones are just like the really good picks. Maybe I mean if we want to, we could do this, I guess. But I don't know. I'll
Do
let you make
that.
the final decision.
Let's just stick with this. I like this. Gut feelings.
Okay.
Let's go.
Cool. Awesome. That was chaotic, but hopefully entertaining.
You
um,
want to describe the gnome strat a little bit? Like what was so phenomenal about it?
oh yeah. Well,
Sure.
actually let's
Yeah.
have you describe it because you're like the king of it.
Oh, yeah, the gnome strat is essentially saving money enough and surviving long enough, holding your real estate enough so that you can alternate roar beetles and gnomes to the point where you'll have the meat shield roar beetles and they'll distract and break through. And the gnomes will just break through anything the roar beetles can't really break through. So that's why ants are really good support because the ants can get through the toast also. Um, I think that it's a point where if you get to like 70 to 80 banks, you can just
Yes.
alternate them and you'll break through most walls. Most of anything is hard to stop because the gnome is just gonna blow anything up that gets close to that roar beetle.
And that's kind of like the trick. You need to get like 70 to 80 banks, and if you do that, you can beat UFOs. At least in very straight and narrow stages that don't have a lot of even without the non-straight and narrow ones. Yeah, it's really crazy. Because I was doing like mass UFOs, and I you just can't defend against it. The only once they get the train going, you can't stop it. That's what's so scary about it. There's no coming back once it gets started. You are dead. It's over. The only way you could come back is if you had the garlic cannon, but the garlic or the garlic launcher or whatever, we call it the garlic cannon all the time. Uh, the garlic cannon. The thing with the garlic cannon though is you need to be prepped. So you can't just pull out the garlic cannon out of nowhere. So yeah, and I think like that's like the counter is that because this is what I did too, and I'll explain the garlic cannon stretch. So like I was doing these, I was doing like mass bumblers to take care of your roar beetles, but normally that wouldn't work because then the gnome would kill all the bumblers. So what I had to do is I had to like sprinkle down garlic cannons consistently, making sure there's always clouds present at all times everywhere. Because whenever the gnome touches the tip of the cloud, it blows herself up, and that was scary. Because then you'd summon a bunch of portals. So what I would have to do then is I'd have to spam a bunch of ants. So we had like this dance, and it went on for a long time, and I had to like counter it that way. But the thing is that I would feel much less confident against a mass UFO strategy if I did that. So there might be this interesting rock paper scissors between the UFO gnome and garlic cannon. Even though I did beat the mass UFOs with the garlic cannons paired with the hives, but I don't think I would have been able to beat you with mass hives with the gnome onslaught. I don't know if you agree with that.
That's the stage.
In the picnic.
No, I don't think so. I think I would probably won that
because the flies just don't kill the roar beetles fast enough. So yeah, I feel like you need the bumblers to take care of the roar beetles, and yeah, it's insane. I think this is not a joke, guys. The gnome is legitimately A tier now. Let's do this. Yes, there we go.
Yeah. Oh gnome.
Gnome. Actually, we'll do this. Actually, I don't know, man. I actually might. I want to do this. Are you okay with that?
Just put the UFO in D tier.
We'll do this. At row below.
Oh no.
Nivlac 13
The new crab
was right all along.
Yeah. You should call that new Psy crab.
New Psy crab. No, we won't do that. Well, let's do that. Nivlac 13 was right all along. There we go. Well, we're gonna post this. Okay. Thanks for coming, guys. It's been fun. We'll see you next time.